What is your name, and when and where were you born, and where are you living now?
My name is Jennifer Dubois. I was born in Regina, but I am from George Gordon First Nation, and I currently reside in Regina, Saskatchewan.
Okay. Do you remember what you thought when you first heard about the coronavirus?
When I first heard about it, it was not really a fear. I didn't expect anything to happen here in Canada. I heard what was going on in China, and I heard about the cruise ship that was docked, and the passengers weren't allowed to come off. And I remember thinking how excessive it was and over the top. And that's initially what I thought when I first heard it, was that it's not going to come here, it'll pass, and just like anything else.
Mm-hmm. When did your life start to change as a result, and in what ways did your everyday life change?
Probably when we started to, it would be in March, I would say mid-March. There was a lot of talk about things happening in Saskatchewan and in Regina, and all of a sudden I started seeing businesses closing their doors just voluntarily, and I started to question what we needed to do as a business. So our gears quickly switched from, oh, this is nothing, to, okay, we need to start taking this seriously. And we actually had a meeting the week that the businesses were forced to shut down, and we decided that we would close on March 23rd, I believe it was, which was a Saturday. And we were going to make an announcement the next day, and that the next day was when the government said that all businesses needed to close. Mm-hmm. As of the 23rd or 4th they had announced it for, and we had already decided to close. So I guess in that regard it was good timing. We stayed open pretty much right till the end, and then I was home. I had no work. The stress and anxiety shot sky high. Probably the worst that it's ever been in my life. Just not knowing what to expect. My husband he's higher risk because he has no thyroid. He had thyroid cancer 10 years ago. And so he has no lymph nodes on one side of his neck, so he's very susceptible to just the common cold and flu. So I was worried about, if we did stay open, what that would look like, if I would continue working, and what if I brought something home. So yeah, just the stress was insane. My kids were sent home from school, so we stayed home. Mm-hmm. I didn't go anywhere. It was just a lot of, not knowing what to do, because we own a business, and our circumstances were, everyone is all in the same boat. Mm-hmm. But we were just recovering from a fire a year prior, so we were just getting to our year of being reopened. So then this happened, and so my anxiety was like, oh my goodness. So our lives changed drastically. We were all home, so we didn't do anything. We stayed home. Just struggled with a lot of, just like everybody else, mental struggles. Really not knowing what's to come, what you need to do next, and trying to keep my kids occupied. And thankfully things started to shift, and they were able to do some online education. Same with their activities. My daughter's a cheerleader, my son's a hockey player, they're both in jiu-jitsu. So we live a very fast-paced life, and then just for it to just stop was a big change. So.
And your business is called?
Meosuin Salon Spa.
Um, I guess how did your community, so because you're a salon owner, I guess that could be your community. Like um, how did everyone respond to the virus? Like others that you know and yourself and
Like family and friends, or
yeah,
like
family, friends,
community?
other.
I think everyone is everyone's reacted the same, like we're all in the same boat. We have a group of friends that we're always with, like we're always together. But even with them, like we decided to do FaceTime. So that was hard. The first month was probably the hardest because we weren't able to see anybody. But we really wanted to take it seriously, especially with my husband's, the possibility of him getting sick we were very fearful of that. So I think everyone around us that we usually see on a regular basis were we're all concerned. So we all took precautions and made sure that we weren't hanging out and that we were keeping our distance, trying to do a lot of things outside and get that motivation, because you lack that motivation when you don't have a plan. You have nothing to do, so you're just bored. And
Yeah.
so it was a lot of like home projects and things like that.
Yeah. How have you coped with the changes brought by the pandemic? Like has culture, heritage, traditional knowledge, or traditional practices made a difference in your life during this time? If so, how?
Yes. I mean, we did what we could on our own, being at home. It's so different to try to practice your culture when in our culture we support each other by being together, right? So you can't get together and you can't have ceremony. So we would smudge and we would pray and FaceTime when we could. It was different. It was really hard to practice your traditional ways when you can't even shake somebody's hand. So but I mean that helped mentally to be able to pray and to be outside, be out in nature and that kind of stuff is what I think helped us. I mean, just recently we did have our rain dance, but things have changed now, right? So we were able to go to our rain dance and do the things that we do annually to give thanks and pray to Creator and our ancestors and things like that. So that's helped, and we when we do pray now, it's shifted to not just us or our family or what's going on around us, but all over the world. We're praying for Mother Nature to heal, and because obviously this has a lot to do with the entire world. So yeah, I don't know if that answered your question.
Oh yeah, it does. Yeah. And so what lessons do you think for the future may come out of this experience for you, your family, your community?
I think, as a business owner, it really, it kind of like, you always know that your family is important, but this time off really gave myself and my husband time to reconnect and just spend time with our children, because it's you don't realize how busy you get, and even though we're with our children quite a bit, it's taking them to sports and activities, and I'm usually at the salon all the time, so you realize that this, it's all just things. It's all, life can stop, and I was so grateful and you realize how blessed you are, right? Like being home with my kids, just really, like when we were ready to reopen, a part of me didn't want to go back. It's like, well, why can't we all just do this, right? Because you miss that part of it. When you're so busy and you're a business owner and you're working 12, 14 hours a day. Like, I'm constantly working. It doesn't matter. Even if I'm at home, I'm still always working on my, phone or computer or whatever. But it showed me that I need to take time for myself and my family more than what I was doing before. So that part, I think, really showed me not only that, but like even just the community in general, like how much we need to stay connected to one another. That was a big lesson for me too, was that you feel so lonely, but you can't see anybody. So how do you connect? Like, now is the time to be able to go and visit and, be outside with your family and make those commitments to not lose connection with one another.
Yeah. Rekindle those relationships that
yes, rekindle. That's such a good word, because you forget all of that in this fast-paced life, and especially as Indigenous people, we're trying to prove ourselves in Western society, right? And this kind of takes you back to realizing and understanding that Mother Nature's very important. And we can't get caught up in that life of living a fast-paced life and making money, because that's not everything in the world, right? And what makes you happy? I was very happy and blessed to be home with my kids for that time. And so, like, now that I'm back up and running, my focus is, okay, we need to be successful so I can spend more time with my family. So that's my goal now.
And just like, how did your kids handle it? Like, I know probably staying at home right now, being at school. And
it was hard for my kids. They never complained about it though. Like, they're 10 and 12, so they're at a good age. So when they were sent home from school, we immediately sat down and talked with them about what this time means. It's not a time, it's not holiday, it's not time to, ask to go to your friend's house and to do this and that. Like, this is serious. We need to make sure that we're following the guidelines that the government set in place, and we can't go anywhere. And you have to understand that if we can do this and everyone else can do this, then we'll be able to go back to seeing people and having fun. But right now, this is what we need to do. So they were really understanding with that, and they never asked to go anywhere, and I think when we did take them out, and they'd be in the vehicle and they'd be like, oh, this feels weird. Like, that's how much they didn't go anywhere. Like, we never took them to the stores. They always stayed home, because when you go to the store with a kid, they want to touch everything. Right? So it's easier to, let them stay home. And my daughter is really bad anxiety, so she had no problem staying home, because when she's out, then she's thinking about what she shouldn't be doing, right? So for her, I think it was good for them to be home to experience a slow-paced lifestyle and doing projects around the house. So we tried to keep them entertained as much as we could. We put them in classes online, like mathletics. My daughter is taking mathletics, so something a little extra outside of school. But they got to meet with their classmates online, so with Zoom, like, that was a good thing through this time. And then their jiu-jitsu classes were resuming as well, so they were allowed to do that through Zoom classes. So we tried to keep them on a schedule. And then the people that we did see, when things started to lighten up a little bit, they always seemed the same kids. So they weren't always like with everybody, or we would, So just trying to, they were okay. I noticed my son, he's 12, so he struggles sometimes emotionally, right? So just trying to really figure out when they're having issues and when they're not, because they're not really the type of kids to really say what's bothering them, especially when they're preteens.
Yeah.
Right. So I could tell he would struggle. So we try to find things for them to keep them happy and occupied. So yeah, they did all right, I guess.
They made it. Was there anything else that you'd like to add to this interview?
I don't think so.
Do you feel yourself that you kind of came out of this a bit different? Like your thinking,
Yeah, I definitely think my perspective on things have changed. I don't know. I think I'm still processing it too.
Yeah.
Like we had to change a lot for the business to be able to reopen. So we really struggled on the business side for those 2 months that we were closed, because we didn't know if we were going to reopen. We ended up getting some just like support that we did not expect. And like it blows me away every time something happens. And I'm just like, I'm ready to give up on the business side, then something just gets thrown at us and we're like, okay, well, I think the universe is telling us that we can't stop, like we have to continue. So there's a lot of support that we have through the community, especially through all of our First Nation communities. Like we have people who drive in 2 hours, to come in for their hair, which is amazing. And that really, when we reopened, and I was nervous because I didn't know, because of the way that we had to structure things now. We're not going to make as much as we could have made before COVID had happened. But for some reason, like we're insanely busy since we've reopened. And the thing is, I don't have enough staff we have to turn a lot of people away because, so now that's the struggle, is that we're so busy that we're booking too far in advance, which is great, right? That's what you want.
Yeah.
But, you're also turning a lot of people away. So there's a lot of things now that we have to adjust and try to change to adapt to what has happened. And when things start to slow down, now it's like, okay, how do we strategize that we're going to continue to be busy, because cleaning between each client takes up a lot of time, and we can't double book right now, so we can't have a color and a cut going
at the same time.
So that makes it difficult when we're trying to hit our targets each month. So it's just like re-strategizing, but again, everybody's on the same page. Anyone who owns a business has to change their business structure. And, since, like, when I always look back at what happened with the fire and the unknowns and all of that, I think, I don't know, I just must have a stronger shell now. That, I have done this already, so it's easier to get back into it now. So, but, I mean, it's been good so far. So we just got to keep that momentum going and keep trying to plan and focus for if COVID hits again, if there is a second wave. What do we do then? So, just making sure we have some type of plan in place, which I feel confident that we do. So I think that's what my focus has changed too, is how can we continue to make this work? Because it's not just my business. The community puts so much support in us, and they believe in us as a business. So really, it's like trying to continue to go on so that we can continue to provide those services for everybody. So,
Yeah. I know, I see it's so sad. A lot of businesses, like, especially in the malls, are like closing sale, or some of the restaurants that haven't opened. And today is July 3rd, 2020.